Yeah.
That's okay.
Not relying on me.
All right. We on? Okay. Welcome to the regular meeting of Helotes City Council. It's June 8th, 2023. The time is 7:01 p.m. We're going to start today with the invocation by Councilmember Sones, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Please join me in prayer. Father God, I just thank you for Helotes. I thank you for our citizens, and even more importantly tonight, I thank you for the law enforcement officers that protect us. I thank you that they work faithfully, that they listen to our citizens, they connect with our citizens, and they work faithfully for us every day. Lord, I just ask that you would be with us as we look at the agenda, that we make wise and good decisions. Pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Somebody put them up wrong. Sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Oh, there we go. All right. At this point, we have a special presentation of our first inaugural Law Enforcement Officer of the Year. This is awarded to Officer David Espinosa, demonstrating exemplary service in the line of duty. I'd like to call forth Chief Hunley and to make a presentation, and Officer Espinosa.
Mayor, Council. This is our first ever Officer of the Year award. David was chosen by the command staff sergeant captain for his dedication, and been here but year and 4 months, and set the bar really high for himself. So he's going to have to continue that, but it was a unanimous decision that he get this award. And what it says is presented to David A. Espinosa in recognition and appreciation of all your hard work and dedication to serve the people of the city of Helotes and the department this year. Thank you from the Helotes Police Department.
Excellent. Sure, why not? The first. All right, grab one more. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. I need to get some stuff. Just a quick word. A lot of people think, well, that must be he gave out the most tickets. It's not about the most tickets here in Helotes. It's a lot. We have reports, we have crimes that are solved, people that are arrests that are made, tickets, as well as customer service, interaction with the community, fitting with the interaction with the police department itself and with the city. And he has only been with us for a brief time, but has certainly made a mark. And like Chief said, sets the bar high. And we certainly want to lead by example and encourage greatness. And David, you're doing your part. Appreciate you. Thank you. All right. And you can feel free that if you don't want to hang around, it's okay if you.
Make him stay, Mayor.
Make him stay. No, we'll just make Chief stay. Good luck. All right. Thank you, Espinosa family, for coming up. There was nice meeting y'all. All right. At this point, we're going to go to item number 3, which is the public hearing. This is a public hearing to give all Interested persons, the right to appear and be heard and request by Michael and Catherine. Right, my eyes are. Wow, there we go. Sorry about that. To set the official zoning classification office and professional district B1 for their 4.5528 acres. The public hearing is now open at, excuse me, 7:07 PM. Do we have anybody here to speak?
No, Mr. Mayor, nobody
Okay.
signed up for the
Okay.
public hearing.
In that case, we will close the public hearing also at 7:07 PM. At this point, we'll have citizens to be heard. Do we have anybody signed up for citizens to be heard? Nobody? Okay. On to the consent agenda. If there's anything that anybody wants to pull, we're looking for a motion and a second to approve items number 5 and 6 on the consent agenda as written.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve items 5 and 6 as written.
Okay, motion by Merchant, second by,
I'll second that.
okay, second by Sanders with no discussion needed. All in favor of approving consent agenda items number 5 and 6 is written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now we have the mayor's report. We got a couple of updates. We had on the text dot improvements, we had Chief Moreland on the Zoom meeting. That was early this morning, correct? And they gave an update. One of the things that they're looking at is, I'm sure you've seen some of the cross cuts. They've been filled, kind of, pretty rough, but they're going to be looking at filling those out the rest of the way, kind of smoothing it out until they finally repave the whole area when the project is near completion. And that the current remaining time, again, we did lose some time due to weather. We lost some time due to the intersection and drilling with the immense amount of limestone, kind of an unanticipated situation there that set us back, I think, close to 3 months. Is that correct, Chief? Yeah, plus or minus there. But they are making good headway. We're seeing a lot of activity out there, and we're now down to 237 days, which is a marked improvement over our last estimate. So work's continuing. I'd like to also announce that we have a blood drive in partnership with University Health on Wednesday, June 21st from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. right here at Helotes City Hall. So feel free. They can also check in online and make an appointment on that would be, but if you have any questions, feel free to give a call over here to City Hall. At this time, we'll move on to our individual items for consideration. Looking for a motion and a second to discuss and take action on item number 8 as written.
Mr. Mayor, I move we discuss and take action on agenda item number 8.
Okay, motion by Sanders, second by
I'll second.
Merchant. Mr. Sanders.
So this has been up multiple times just because of the way the process works for our annexation. So it seems like at least 3 public hearings. Nobody's opposed it. Nobody's come up and complained, had any concerns about it. The P&Z earlier this week unanimously supported it. I can't see any reason to say no to this. So other than that, I'm willing to support.
Okay. Merchant.
I support this fully. It's a good idea. There's no reason not to.
Councilor.
Yeah, no, yeah, the B1, I just, it was explained in the agenda item, as I read it, that is for nurseries and landscaping business.
Correct.
So that was my only question, but it was alluded to, and I actually mentioned in the background information. So if that's what, if B1 is the designation for that, then that's what we should go for.
Okay. And just to give a little bit of background history, because there have been some questions on other properties. When a city annexes land into its city, it makes a determination on the zoning of that property, which is what we're doing here and applying for zoning B1. And that is why we have public hearings. That's why it goes through planning and zoning to give all interested parties an opportunity to speak. And that would be the appropriate time when we're coming together as a community to make a determination on the future use of land, as opposed to waiting until the development actually happens and then try to oppose the development. So I'm glad to hear that we've got, this has gone through the process And now we're at the point of approving its final use designation. Councilman, you have anything to add or?
I was rather surprised that they went with B1. I mean, it's basically the bottom. But, if that's what they want, I support it.
Yeah, I just think it's positive that people are coming to us and want to be in the city of Helotes. So I support it.
Okay. With no further conversation or discussion, all in favor of approving item number 8 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. At this point, we're looking for a motion, a second to discuss and take action on item number 9 as written.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we discuss and take action on agenda item number 9 as written.
Okay, motion by Sanders, second by
I'll second.
Merchant. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So really, this is more of a housekeeping item because it is a development. We know this development has happened, is platted. It's really just marking for if you want to add anything, staff.
Right, so this unit 3 has now been completed. Once it's completed, they made sure all the fire lanes were in there. And that was one of the part of the development agreement, that there were going to be fire lanes because the streets were not as wide. So to allow for parking on both sides. So that is why, and for us to be able to enforce it, we need to put it in our code and we need to list the streets.
So if does anybody have any?
I just want to make a comment. So I talked to Chief Moreland this morning about this, and this was actually, maybe I should have known this earlier, but I didn't realize how narrow the streets were.
In that division?
Well, I think throughout the development, not just these units and then the future units.
All the units are going to be that width.
So, I mean, and I know this development has been ongoing for a long period of time. Anyways, that's something that's always going to be in the back of my mind as we have future developments that are proposed for the city council's consideration. That's a huge shortfall in my opinion. But anyways, the issue here is supporting where they want to put the fire lanes. So I don't have an issue with that.
We made sure, like when we brought the PUD to y'all, when we were looking at that development, that agreement, to ensure that there was enough access and that we
Right.
wouldn't have to put fire lanes. And so they were at least 32 feet. So we ensured that, and we will continue to, at least staff will continue to ensure that and not go into agreements where they are smaller.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Craig, I didn't say anything about this, the width. You were in the document, how narrow are they?
About 2 feet shorter.
The development.
I'll let the expert.
Chief?
In order to have parking on both sides of the street, the minimum code is 32 feet from curb to curb. That way you can park on the other side of the street and still get a fire truck down the middle of it. Granted, the fire trucks are a little wider than a regular vehicle. If my memory serves me, in Brycewood, we're either 26 or 28
Or
feet.
27. So as per
Right
the
in the middle.
development agreement, it's 27 feet.
Right.
Okay.
And I want to add that since we've learned from the Brycewood development how the codes affect the parking situation, I don't want to say learn, but Brycewood has taught us that when we have probably the first or second developmental meeting with these developers, we mention the streets to them and really stress to them that if they're not going to do 32 feet curb to curb, plan on having some parking restrictions. So that's right out of the gate, usually the first meeting we have with the
Well,
developer now.
since recently, we've actually do not encourage even to do anything under 32 feet. That is something that now, if they push forward and want to bring it to council, that's up to them. But as staff, we do not recommend that.
Exactly.
And granted, this originally started years
Yes.
prior to this point. We're kind of house cleaning at this point and making things so that they at least adhere to code.
With
When
the-
short and 32 needs a fire lane, so for where we're putting them in there.
With the exception of Brycewood, most of the streets in Helotes are exceptionally wide for a city of our size. Iron Horse is a good example of what how streets should be laid out and the good widths.
The only other development.
They're 30 feet though.
Yeah, they were prior, they were on the old code,
That's what I was
the
wondering.
2012 code. I
Yeah,
believe.
okay.
Right.
No, it's 30
And
feet.
we do have one development, but it's private roads, which is the Versatera, Bandera Oaks. But there's only
Two streets.
two streets there.
Two streets.
Two streets there. So, but they do have fire lanes, but since it's private, we would not bring it. Those streets won't come on to our code.
Thank you. Councilman, you have anything?
No, sir.
Anybody? Okay, no further discussion. All in favor of approving item number 9 is written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. At this point, we're looking for a motion and a second to discuss and take action on item number 10 as written.
I'll make a motion. We discuss and take action on item number 10, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, motion by Merchant, second by
Second.
Sones, and this is really more of a housekeeping as well to give us additional purchasing options with the co-op as we have brought similar items up in the past. Gives us access to a whole other set of interlocal agreements to be able to purchase and take advantage of pricing that's afforded other municipal groups. This is just a different co-op, just a kind of like a Sam's Club membership and now a Costco membership, if you will, on a municipal level. But
Correct.
anybody have any comments or questions?
Is this the only one? Are we member of multiple?
We are
We're a
melting.
member of multiple. In fact, a lot of them, they're listed on the agenda form. The ones that I believe they are.
They are.
Yeah, they're
Very last
listed.
paragraph.
On that last paragraph, it lists all the ones that we're part of.
So I do have really more of a statement. I don't know if it's a question. So my understanding, this is actually like an interlocal agreement on steroids, this particular one, correct? Where this gives us access to a lot more government contracts that have already been let.
Correct.
I mean, this is kind of a portal into a much bigger repository of, unlike what some of the other ones we did,
Right,
right?
like when we did the Northwood or North Richardson one, that was very limited to streets and the ones that go bid out. But like some of the other ones that we're part of, which is Byboard, and they're very extensive. They are, they're either state run or they're region run. And so we do have access to a lot more equipment or purchasing like chairs, anything. So that's what this is.
Yeah, I went out and looked at that and it's like, wow.
Yeah,
It's like.
it's very
access to
broad.
Everything that a city would want to have a pre-let contract at a very good rate. So
Correct.
this is
Makes,
awesome.
there's 11 total that we are part of co-ops. And so again, some specialize in, tools, some specialize in aggregate materials or whatever. It just, just broadens the base of us being able to get best pricing available. And then because we're part of that, we can buy direct without having to go out with the.
Without going out for
out for the
bid
bid.
and looking for hubs.
Any other comments, questions, issues?
No, it's just helpful to have this because Craig and I have both run into citizens who ask us about this specific issue. Are we doing this? And it's always nice to say, yes, we are. So thank you for continuing to do that. And that's positive that we're using our tax funds wisely and efficiently. So thank you to the city staff.
Absolutely.
Mm.
All right, with no further discussion, all in favor of approving item number 10 is written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Which brings us to item number 11,
Mr. Mayor, who was the first and the second on 10?
was Merchant
And
and Stones.
thank you.
So we're looking for a motion, a second to discuss and take action on item number 11 as written.
And Mr. Mayor, I move we discuss and take action on agenda item number 11 as written.
Motion by Sanders, second by
I'll second.
Merchant. This really is, again, just a matter of requirement. Bear County 911 has a budget and it covers all areas. So even though we have our own dispatch, nonetheless, we're part of the Bear County total affected area. And so therefore, we need to approve their budget. If anybody has any specific questions, there's not much that we can do about it. It's just really kind of recognizing for it is a matter of record, if you will. But unless there's any noted things we want to send up the pipe.
I just want to say, I went to last year, this is an annual requirement that gets coordinated through every municipality. And I went back to the video last year, almost exactly this time. And I think the mayor made a great explanation. He had to dumb it down for me. He's like, it's not the people on the other ends that are receiving the 911 calls, it's the infrastructure. Getting the calls from point A to point B. And that's all that this plan is focused on. And so, yeah,
Right, and they do provide the 911 lines that come here. So if for any dispatch, agency, they provide the lines that come here. They've also do have a program where you can put out for small purchases, but they did purchase our Vista Radiocom for our new consoles. They help grant that, and then also some chairs and some other equipment and some training on an annual basis.
so I'm good.
Anything to add?
I just have a question.
Sure.
It says, I'm looking at on page 10 from personnel. It just tells you how much, the expenditure is going to be, but how many people work in this agency?
Well, that's a very good question.
I'm just looking, it says the fiscal year total personnel costs are $3,327,000. So I'm thinking, okay, how many people is that?
There's a lot of dispatch stations and there's.
Well, this isn't the dispatchers. This isn't Bear County Dispatch, but like more, I think the Metro 911 systems where they're providing the programming and the directing of
The actual
the calls.
911 lines, so they do have
lines.
engineers on their staffing, so they have a lot of higher ups. I don't know how many and how much it takes, but it's the full 911 infrastructure for the area, for Bear County.
So they put all that there, and then you have Bear County Dispatch that operates
I
within
just-
that.
I just have one suggestion that maybe we could just ask them next year to put how many employees they have.
We can ask them to put it, we can
You
ask.
can,
them to-
I mean, you can
yeah.
ask anything. They may not do it, but
Yeah.
it just would be, I just would like to know how many people work for this, getting that much money. That's all.
It also includes their maintenance people for the facility and they have large facilities over there, Quarry Run and.
And Mr. Mayor, it does say in the report that personnel accounts for 24% of their budget.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I suspect it's outsourced, just with my background and what I do
Mhm.
for a living. It's almost probably all contracted out. So it's not government employees, it's probably full-time equivalents.
Yeah, I just think that if we're going to be approving something, it would just be nice to know if it's in-house personnel or consulting people, how much money each group is
Mhm.
getting. That's all. They're asking us to approve a budget without giving us all the details.
Right.
That's all.
That's a reasonable request. Any other comments? Okay, all in favor of approving item number 11 is written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. And now on to item number 12, looking for motion and second to discuss and take action on item number 12. As written, please.
I
Go
move to
ahead.
discuss and take action on item number 12 is written.
Thank you. Motion by Massey, second by Merchant. Comments, councilperson?
I think this is just a no-brainer. This was an error and they deserve their money back. So,
Yep.
So there was a clerical error on a person's account and their property tax code. So it was found, it was corrected, and now we just basically have to process and acknowledge it. So
I agree. You made a mistake. Let's make it right.
I agree.
any other comments? No further discussion. All in favor of approving item number 12 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. This brings us to our final item. So looking for a motion. Well, we actually don't need a motion for
No, I'm correct.
right. It's a discussion on information on our strategic action plan for our Helotes Dispatch Center. So what I wanted to do is just kind of open this up for discussion and give you some updates on what's been happening. Previously, council had authorized me to negotiate a price for services for dispatch through Bear County Dispatch. We did get a price, as we discussed in further council meetings. But one of the big problems was they have staffing issues over there, and it was going to be 2 years ago when we started this process. They were 3 months away from being able to take us on. After 3 months, they were 6 months further. After another 6 months, they were 9 months still out. And now I estimate them to be 1 to 2 years out. So we're not getting any closer to any possible ability. I had one of their chief at Bear County Sheriff's call me just recently, and this was several weeks ago. He said he would send me an email the following day, were we on the list to be absorbed into Bear County, and approximate time. The next day came and went. 3 days later, he sent me, sorry, I haven't got to it. I'll get it to you next week. Here we are weeks later, and 2 phone calls later. They still can't even send an email letting us know what number we are on the list. This does not inspire a lot of confidence in Bear County Dispatch and their services and their ability to provide it. So one of our options has always been, from the day dispatch was open way back in the early days of talking about this, was the whole point of us is to be able to open up to other cities and contract for services. And because the point that we were looking at dispatch was not that we needed to get rid of dispatch. We have fantastic dispatch. We have fantastic employees. We have great customer service. It's just financially insolvent, if you will. And so that was the problem, was how do we fix the finances of it? This past year, as you all know, we did get a grant through Bear County because we were put on a timeline to be able to go to Bear County. That timeline does not seem to have any end to it, and there does not appear to be any ability to be able to renew the grants. So it's kind of a 1 year and done situation. So what we're really doing here, and this is a discussion item as opposed to, there's no action to be taken on here, but what we're doing now is reaching out to other communities, other municipalities in the area within Bear County that may be in similar situations as what we are with our P25 dilemma, and see if we can't find somebody that's willing to come on board. We are not to the stage of being able to, when we get to the stage and when we find somebody, we'll bring the terms of the deal to council for approval or denial at that point. But basically, we're just kind of explaining what we're going to be doing because it is different from the strategy that it's a different path than what we were headed down last year, if you will. And so we're going to be actively and continue to actively seek for other clients, if you will. And if we're successful in finding one, we'll be bringing them to council for approval of a tentative agreement. That's really more of an update, but if there's any questions that anybody has, we can open up for discussion.
I have a question.
Sure.
So are there specific communities that we are targeting? Specifically, I'm getting at communities that are on the waiting list to get chopped over to the Bear County's dispatch system.
So at this time, it would be inappropriate to utilize any specific city names for privacy issues, for relational issues and whatnot until the time is right. Also until they speak with their city council, if you will. But we asked Bear County for a list of the cities that are on their waiting list. They declined to give that to us. It didn't make any sense. I'm like, well, listen, even for a time of season, if we can host them for a couple years until you're ready, then that serves them. They said, no, we don't feel that that would be serving their needs. So instead, they're just going to leave them out with no service, I guess, or an indefinite period. I'm not sure how that serves their needs, but they would not give us that list. So we are in the process of basically starting from the A's and working through the Z's of the municipalities in Bear County. And as you know, we don't need to have a lot of additional business. What we need to do is the costs have increased over the years. We know what Bear County would charge us. So the idea is to get to the net cost equivalent of what the going rate would be. If we can get one significant city or possibly 2 cities the size of Helotes, if you will, that would put us in the ballpark and therefore make our finances fairly, well, certainly a lot better off than what we currently are. a lot more responsible and fiscally responsible as far as maintaining and providing long-term sustainability for our dispatch center.
So my last thing, and I'll shut up. So with the upgrade and everything, we're more fully integrated than we've probably ever been, right? With all the surrounding communities and infrastructures that are out there.
So one of the benefits, as you know, we use the ARPA money to be able to get, so we didn't have to take any money out of savings. We got the consoles. There's two consoles is used for two different things. One for actual desk equipment, and apparently it's not all desk, it's called console. And then there's the actual radio consoles. The P25 radio equipment makes us completely integratable with Bear County for whatever resources we need, et cetera, as well as not only being able to handle our own police and fire, but prepared as well to be able to service other clients as we bring them on. So we are well positioned. That was one of the things when we decided about buying that, and it was close to $200,000 purchase. You know, like I said, we used ARPA money for that, so that was a blessing. But in doing so, we knew that if for some reason it dragged on beyond the end of May and June, which we're already in June, we would have been in some significant technological deficiencies. And lo and behold, Bear County still not being able to, they said they had other equipment for us. We found out that there were problems with that as well. So we made that decision. It was better to be over prepared than be left hanging in the wind. Now, as it turns out, being over prepared allows us to be able to be fully able to provide services to other municipalities. And so I do believe there are a few prime candidates out there that would be mutually beneficial. And so we're going to seek those avenues. And when we have additional information at the appropriate stage, we'll bring them for your decision acceptance of contract.
I have a question. Could we get that list from Bear County with a public information request?
I don't know.
You can try.
We can try.
You can try.
I
The way
try
that
as a
they
council
presented
member.
it sounded like that was top secret information that we're not going to let out no matter what. But
By law, is it public information?
one would think it's an interesting question.
They would probably cite the confidentiality exemption.
Mhm.
Because if they're under negotiation with them, then that's what,
But you can certainly try.
Okay.
If Bear County is not servicing them, then who is, or what?
they have their own.
We don't know we don't know who they are. So I don't know, either they have their own dispatch or they're being serviced by
By another
another,
dispatch.
you know, but at the same time, Bear County is Gray Forest. We used to service Gray Forest, but now they're recently been absorbed into Bear County. So they have some capacity, but we still, after all this investigation, don't have a really good or accurate just assessment of what
Move to them because of the cost,
Correct.
when who did.
Gray Forest, because we had them for years.
We had them for years, but the contract, can we go into that under this topic? Generically speaking, the contract stated what they were supposed to be paying, and they weren't paying what they were supposed to be paying. And so when we got to the discussions on the, they were paying for their percentage use, but that percentage use caused, they were paying this and they should have been paying this. And so they said, we can't pay that. And so they went to Bear County. So, which is all right. We were facing P25 issues anyways at the time. They left.
They left prior to us installing the console.
Yeah, that was before the consoles. Do you remember? It was about 8 months ago,
Yeah. A year.
10 months ago. Okay, so I was close, right? So.
Okay.
Their total contract was only 5,000 per year though, and our overall budget is
Oh, yeah.
530,000. So it was not.
And Bear County is less than that? Wow. Well, they
No.
were offering it free for a while. Well, remember,
There was.
that was to get.
I can't speak to how things were done years and years ago. What I'm saying is that right now we have the responsibility to be fiscally responsible and make this as sound as possible of a business unit, if you will.
Well, I do have one comment to make about our dispatch. I think we went to dispatch because we knew that we would get better service for our citizens, better than I think Bear County could ever give. And the response times were so much faster with our own dispatch. The other thing too is, yes, your initial thought was we get all these other cities on board and it would pay for itself, then we wouldn't have to pay. It didn't work out that way. I'm not, and so I appreciate what Rich has been doing, trying to bring more money in, that kind of thing. But we don't expect the PD to pay for itself, and we don't expect the fire department to pay for itself. And I feel like dispatch is kind of on that level. They're a support for our citizens and for their safety. And so if we never get the full amount that we have to pay for dispatch, it's not going to bother me one bit, or even half.
Well, to speak to that, the equations don't work like they were presented years ago when we started this anymore. And so it would be a shared cost structure. So really in this day and age and the way things are, it would never get to the point where it would pay for itself by other clients. It would be a portion. The question is, are we doing what we can to make that unit as fiscally responsible as possible? Meaning right now we're paying 100%, which is 3 times the going rate. If we can get other clients on there to share the cost, we are now, for what we are receiving on our people, the high level of customer service, but at a net cost to us, much more in line with what the going rate is. Now what we've done is not only provide that service and continue to service for Helotes, but 1 or 2 other cities. And even if we don't get all the way to market price, any step in that direction means we're doing a better job as far as managing the resources that we're expending on that effort. It's a fantastic service, it's a fantastic asset, but we're operating at 30% capacity, and that's unutilized capacity that we have. And now we're just trying to, how do we go about it? This past year, we ended up using grant to make up the difference. That's great. It was available. We got it. That was a nice windfall for the efforts exerted. Now we need to take a look at a different strategy, because waiting to go on Bear County is one strategy. It would bring it to market price, but it could be years before we get there. So let's go back to the drawing board and see what we can do about getting additional clients.
I would agree with Cynthia, though. I hate to see us go to Bear County and our service suffer.
Right.
So I don't think that's necessarily a great option.
So,
But I
go ahead.
do have a question. It was my understanding that Chief Moreland had said in a meeting a year ago that he thought the services would be equivalent between the two. Am I?
So there's a lot of
incorrectly?
debate. I think this is probably not the degree, or we're not in the spot of debating if we're flipping the switch to Bear County or not. So it's not really necessarily a discussion that we have to move forward. But there is a lot of debate on level of service, and that really depends on who you talk to. And I've talked to other communities that utilize Bear County. I've talked to Bear County. Bear County says, oh, it's 8-second. Some of our experience up to 1 hour wait. And then you talk to agencies that utilize them, and you get somewhere in between those bookends of responses. And so I would say that is open for debate. I think what's not open for debate is the quality of our service. Our quality, I don't think there's anybody that's providing the level of service that we are currently providing. And now if we can make that and maintain that and be able to get other clients to be able to help offset some of the cost and utilize more of the unused capacity, we are being more responsible as leaders and watching over that project and make it a more valuable asset to the community while providing, maintaining the service we're already providing the city.
I did have one citizen contact me when I ran for council over a year ago. Long email, well-researched, basically asking me on this issue. So I do know there are people out there, maybe not a lot, that are concerned about the level of cost for our city for this dispatch center.
Well, I got a lot of comments on the cost. And so what we need to do is just really, that's our responsibility to be responsible. And, we can, if we think about it, whether it's public works or police officer, yeah, we can provide better service, but if we add 500 police officers, that's not really responsible management, because what are they going to do all day? There's not that much space, right? However, we did need more officers. We needed 8 more officers, and that was an appropriate amount. So with police officers or with fire or with public works or admin, it's very easy to add 1 or 2. With dispatch, you have to have, even at the bare minimum, we have the capacity to do this much work, and we're only doing this much. So we're having to pay for all this,
Right. And
whether we use it or not. And it's time that we're paying for, on that, even if we only have 1 person, you can't have less than 1 person in dispatch, as much as we
I think
tried.
that was the citizens' concern.
Yeah.
Was exactly what you just articulated.
So, we just wanted to bring this to, I wanted to bring this to your attention. So if we're successful in finding a client, we bring it to, it's not a complete shock. Well, I thought we were doing plan A. Plan A is to keep our dispatch open. What we've been dealing with is plan D and F, and going to Bear County is like plan Z. So just if we're successful in finding a client, don't be surprised when that comes up on the agenda, because that means we're successful in this endeavor. Outside of that,
One other comment, question. We got a Bear County grant last year. Have we looked into state and federal grants that may help us with this?
We have looked into it, and there is not really much that we qualify for this particular, there's just certain specific grants out there, and there's not one for this, because there are other avenues. So, because, the ones that have money out there don't feel that this is something that's needed or needed to be funded. So there isn't. And what is out there, we don't qualify for one reason or another.
there's some school resource officer stuff that we're looking into. There are other grants. Those are different topics. We'd have to have a
Right.
different discussion item, but
But not
essentially we
particular dispatch.
continue to search and look for grants. Chief Mullen has found some grants. I know Chris is working on some various grants. We got camera and bulletproof vests grants or programs in various forms. So we constantly, that's part of our overall duties, is constantly looking for what is available out there. It doesn't always come in the form of a nice bundled package like ARPA, but
I have a question about when you're on an iPhone and you call 911 and you're in Helotes, does it go to our dispatch?
so what it is it goes by the tower. So sometimes yes and sometimes no. As this gentleman right here would be happy to tell you.
Yeah, you know what happened the other day? I accidentally pressed there's this emergency number thing that you can do on your iPhone, and I just accidentally did it. And then it dialed a 911. And then I got so freaked out, I hung up. And then that person called me back and asked if I had needed help. And I was like, no, I don't know how to use my iPhone. That's what the problem is. But it didn't sound like anyone. Do we have a man in dispatch?
We do.
We do? Oh, okay. Well, it might have been. I didn't realize that. Anyway, it just scared me. I was
So it depends. It's how National 911, and we talked about earlier, Bear County 911, how they program. So the cell towers, I think we have 2 towers, and that comes to cell in that coverage picks up and comes to us. So roughly speaking, 85% of the calls that come in are actually for us, and about 15 of them are actually, we have to reroute to Bear County because of somebody's Bear County, but where the tower coverage, where the car was, it went to this tower as opposed to that tower, and this one comes to Helotes, this one goes to Bear County. So a Helotes resident could be over here and they're in the city limits, but it went to this tower and went to Bear County, and so they reroute it. So there's a little bit of overlap, and there's a little bit of rerouting of calls that went to the wrong dispatch center. But that's how that works. It goes by which cell tower is assigned to which dispatch
I should
center.
have asked him, are you a Helotes?
That's a very simplified,
That would have
very
solved a lot of
simplified,
problems.
Typically too, like depending on where you are in conjunction to that tower, you may hit the Helotes tower, but if the tower is full with cell phones calls that are already happening, you may bounce from that tower to the next closest tower, which could be in county's jurisdiction. So it would bounce you to county, and then they would transfer you back to us.
Okay. That's good
so
to
that's
know.
where this budget people, they figure all that and they make it happen seamlessly. And so.
Oh, okay, the one before. then.
Yes.
The one I voted against. Yes.
The one you voted against was the one, that's what they.
That's
make
what
all this
they
stuff
do.
happen. So, They're the ones that actually responsible for your 911 call actually getting through.
Very good.
right.
Mr. Mayor, I've just add that I've just been really impressed watching you, Jamie, in the last year and your professionalism, all of this. It's kind of been, it has been a roller coaster. And I just think as we look for cities, what a wonderful leader to have to show these cities that you are running a great show over there. So I just want to thank you.
Yes, thank you, Jamie. All right. Well, with no further discussion, we'll go ahead and adjourn. The time is 7:47 PM.